We're going live. I believe we're live now. Hello, everybody. It's Bob and Zip with Ed Kelly, and we are live streaming tonight. And boy, we have some goodies for you. A couple of things. Your lizard brain versus executive function. Now, a few people have had a science or psychology class and have some idea what I'm talking about. We're going to delve into it a little bit. Conversationally, I'm neither a scientist, a psychologist, or even very well read or well studied. But it's fascinating, the different parts of your brain that make different kinds of decisions. Did video kill the radio star, or was it the internet? And is there a way to resurrect the radio star? I believe.
I think it was consultants.
Consultants. That's going way back.
We are the beaten stepchildren of consultants all these years.
They did beat us back a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll delve into that. I actually believe that I have the solution to bring back the radio personality and make the radio personality bigger than ever before.
Droozle, drowsel, drizzle, drone. Time for this one to come home. Hello, Mr. Wizard.
And finally, I could have been a billionaire. Have you ever said that to yourself? Zip?
With an idea?
With an idea. Zip, have you ever had an idea that you were pretty sure you could be a billionaire with?
Not exactly. What do you mean, scratch ticket?
Ed Kelly?
Scratch him from the show. Which
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have gotten to $1 billion, but I think I could have.
So you never thought like, oh, this
considerably.
.com idea I have, this is going to be big, and maybe I could. Duh.
I bought enough domain names that I probably believed. I'm deluded.
Save that thought, and we will get to that.
The Bob and Zip Show with Ed Kelly.
Okay, we're here, and for the first topic, the lizard brain versus executive function, I'm going to cheat.
You got a cheat sheet.
well,
okay, Rush. Rattle the paper some more.
When we did the radio, the EIB radio, go ahead, do your thing. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't think that I'm smart, listen to this. Rattle, 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 rattle.
I used to be such a freaking Rush Limbaugh fan. I don't even want to tell you.
I think in the beginning, a lot of us were. And our morning guy used to fill in for him, and they were best friends and all of that. I think he was fine. He was a good broadcaster, but he was an entertainer more than a broadcaster to me.
Says Ed Kelly, who entertains.
Well, yeah, I didn't poison minds in the process.
While you criticize him, could you do it in his voice? That would be really funny.
Well, I mean, so you're talking about a guy here, you know, he dabbles in AM. You know, how many AM listeners are there in Detroit? I mean, think about it, folks. I had billions and billions of ditto heads from coast to coast, for crying out loud. And this import knucklehead comes in and look at me. I've got a gold mic and a custom seat, for God's sake. Know nothing, moron, nimnal.
Now, be honest, Zip fell. Libtard, good friend of mine, my brother. You must have loved Rush Limbaugh at one time.
You know, I never took him serious. The thing that got me about Rush Limbaugh was anytime anyone took him to task on any particular thing, you know, from a political standpoint, or when he ran into trouble with the opioids and things like that, that's when he deferred to, I'm just an entertainer. Whenever he got
about
real
that. The cochlear ear thing is history, for God's sake. Can a man do a few drugs now and again and be forgiven? I mean, America loves to forgive people, do they not? Yes, they do, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Wouldn't you agree, though, seriously?
I put the cock in cochlear ear.
Hey, man, don't take me seriously. I'm just an entertainer.
Well, I've personally needed that excuse a few times. So
Exactly.
when you're talking for 4 hours on the radio, you're improvising and you're human. I forgive anybody for not being, you know, it's not like testimony at a grand jury hearing for sure. But I guess where I was going with being a fan of Rush is just that he was
Could entertain himself for 4 hours with no one in the room.
that I
That's
could
a
never
talent,
do. Yeah.
though.
No,
Seriously.
I must be very talented.
it is a talent, but he was captivating. And
Yes.
and some of this has to do with the lizard brain executive function portion of our show. A whole lot of what we do is automatic.
Reptilian.
You breathe, right?
Yes.
You can drive a car and not even remember driving the car because you were having a great conversation with somebody or thinking about something. And then you ever do this? You get somewhere and you go, I don't even remember
Wow.
driving there.
That was fast. Yeah.
And not only was that a skill, it was a difficult skill and one that quite possibly could be fatal if you didn't do it well. So it'll sound a little like I'm putting down the reptilian brain where I'm going, but I'm not really. In fact, Zip, I think you'll find this interesting.
Now stop stealing my shtick.
Here's the setup, folks. For you,
That was one of the
those
things Rush.
of you
That's why we
following
started talking
along
about
at
Rush.
home, here's the setup.
Because what he would do is he would want you to know that he had authoritative research behind him.
No.
And that is memory that I had just as we were sorting the shuffling of the paper. And I loved it. And I stole that for the next 30 years.
We all do.
All right. So the reptilian brain is composed of the basal ganglia, the brainstem, basically, involved with primitive drives related to thirst, hunger, sexuality, and territoriality. The way it was explained to me by my brain scientist friend John Medina, the 4 F's: fight, flee, fear, and make sweet love.
Our base instincts.
Our basic. These are
Base.
important. Yes, important to survival. So, a conversation I had with someone this fall during the campaign season for the midterms was, I just couldn't believe how stupid all the political ads were and how negative they were and how they were all angry about the other side. And none of them involved solutions to problems. And it was explained to me that when you've only got 30 seconds, you will not move the meter unless you appeal to the reptilian brain. And that's why all political ads played on your fear.
Bob Rivers says he's the common man. Huh. Why does he drive an electric vehicle? Don't listen to Bob Rivers.
The governor of this fine state of Nevada got unseated. And by all, I don't know anything about him. He could be a crook. But by all that I knew, he was, could be mafia. But he was pretty well liked. And
He was
seemed to-
unseated for counting cards. That's what it was.
No.
Oh, no. Come on.
All right. Eventually, these jokes will get mammalian. Right now, they're a little reptilian. Jokes that are already in there, like driving a car. I already know that joke. Let's just throw it out. The negative ads on him basically implied that he was a crook and broke lots of laws. And you heard it so often. It would be like saying, the dinosaur is about to eat your family. Do you want your family eaten? That's really what all of the ads were. And he lost very narrowly, by the way, because the way this is all calculated, it's always 51 to 49% or closer. 51 to 49 is like a blowout, a landslide. And so it really bugged me. And I've thought about that reptilian brain comment that the political ads are all appealing to your reptilian brain because it's the only thing that works. If you get someone into fight or flee,
Flight mode.
fight or flight. Did I get that right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what's the third F? Food. Food.
Food and, you know.
If you get them into one of those things, and that's why, Madison Avenue sex sells. It was always sex that sells.
Yes.
You are going to be able to move someone without them thinking about it.
Yeah, because it's a base response. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reptilian brain is that. Things like putting your keys somewhere every day without thinking about it, riding a bike. It's procedural memory. Now, they now split it into 3 brains.
Oh, I'd like half if I could.
Yeah.
Please.
Everything's fractionalized these days, you know.
Yes.
And the old mammal brain is called the paleomammalian. And they talk about the different parts of the brain it involves. This is not a science class, and I'll probably mispronounce it. Yeah.
Sounds like a great Greek restaurant.
Yes, the paleomammalian. The hypothalamus, hippocampus, amygdala, whatever, all of these. These are where our emotions, memory, motivations, parenting skills, these are as we became mammals. And by the way, we've been evolving. I looked this up for like 10 million years.
Some or another.
Yeah. And then finally, where executive function resides. And executive function, you know, it's got that woke label to it.
Yes,
right?
it does.
You know you're going to like it. I want more of that. Executive function enables language, abstract thinking, reasoning, and planning. Big picture, but it also involves something else that we don't have a lot of. Self-control, editing. I want to kill that MF.
Yeah.
Might not be a good idea.
Probably good to pull your punch on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, three squares in a cot is overrated.
But here's something I read that was absolutely fascinating. So we're going to get to executive function in a second. Executive function is basically being in the moment, not doing the impulse, and just it's being smart. But you can't say it's being smart because there are so many parts of the other part of the brain that are so smart that smart and dumb they're not an effect. Let me prove it to you this way. I couldn't believe it when I read this, by the way.
Was it in a tabloid? Why not?
In the paleomammalian brain, the reptile or lizard brain,
Yes.
it is completely responsible for playing a musical instrument. It shocked me.
No kidding.
Yeah. If you weren't a dog lizard, you could not be Jeff Beck.
Wow.
And now, no doubt, having a really well-developed executive function allows you to be very creative and strategic and form songs and do amazing things with those skills.
Including the bridge. Yeah.
But my piano teacher, Martin Lund, who's an amazing guy, and I realize I'm not an example of his great work, but he told me that, and you back me up on this, that music, being good at music, is all about repetition, plowing neural pathways, having the ability, muscle memory. In fact,
As they call it in the rock world, woodshedding.
locking yourself in a room and having no girlfriends, and then suddenly having all the groupies you want.
Yes.
There was a story about Eddie Van Halen that he was completely antisocial at first. That he was, until he became Eddie Van Halen, he was just obsessive compulsive with his reptilian brain, building all these incredible skills.
Pentatonic scales, yeah.
The thing about executive function and your neo-mammalian, which is new mammal.
We're sensitive new mammal guys.
Yeah. The thing about that is that kids don't have any of those skills. They don't have executive function skills. They have the ability to develop them, but good parenting and good experiences and good attitude and all of the things to develop them are super important. And that's why...
Your kid's a stand-up comic. Sorry.
So when it comes to executive function, and this is a conversation I had with John, who's amazing. He's agreed to come on the podcast, and now I'm afraid.
Please, let's get him on here. I got a zillion questions.
Oh, and I'm afraid to have him on because we're not smart enough.
That's right.
You are. Yeah. I'm not. And when it's one-on-one, it's like not going anywhere. I can ask him really dumb questions. But basically, what he said is cognitive behavioral therapy and making good decisions and really developing that thing that Zip always talks about, trying to figure out what's not fake, what's fact, what's fiction, involves being, I'm trying to think of the exact words he used, being absolutely present in the moment. Because the mammalian brain is like a choo-choo train. Chooka,
Reaction,
chooka, 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 chooka. It's just doing.
By rote.
Yeah. In fact, my piano teacher told me when I was trying to learn how to play with the left hand and the right hand, he was like, you can't think about the left hand. So you just have to practice with the left hand. You have to go to learn a blues thing like dum, 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 dum. And he said, now with the right hand. And as soon as I tried, the left hand would go crash into a building. You know what I'm talking about, Zip?
Yes.
Yes. And so with executive function, you are in the moment. And so it's not a fight or flee or eat or have sex. It's just a bigger picture and able to sort through all the different. And most people think they're doing that, by the way. But then a political ad comes on and tells them that Al Gore invented the internet, or that Biden has dementia, and those would be scary things.
Or beef. It's what's for dinner.
Beef is what's for dinner. Oh, Madison Avenue has known about the lizard brain forever.
Oh, yeah.
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 In fact, where's the beef?
Yep.
Someone's taking my meat away.
Clara Peller.
Does all this stuff apply to like autistic people or savants, or people who, for whatever reason, the pathways are askew compared to the average human being, and because of that, they just have this clearer path and connection to things mere mortals can't grasp?
You were going to be good with John because that's exactly the kind of smart question I can't think of. From my research I did for the show, yeah, a lot of what comes up when you search these two terms is developmentally disabled children, is dementia in adults, and which part of the brain it's affecting. So, for example, executive function there's a graph for executive function. Let's see if I have it right here. There's a graph for it, which basically, until you're 4 or 5, you haven't developed it at all. And you don't really, you don't develop it. And when you're 5, it starts to go crazy. And it rises. Let's see if I can show you. Will the camera autofocus?
No.
Too close. Can't get that close.
Pull it back. There
Ah,
you
the
go.
camera likes my face. You know what? I want the camera to keep that. So it appears to rise dramatically in your, really by age 6 to 8. It's freaking incredible how much you can learn.
Yeah.
And that learning peaks all the way through. My eyesight is bad. I'm having trouble seeing the year. Isn't that funny? Like age 30 to 35 or something, and then a gradual decline.
Yeah.
So yes, there's, and different people, for environmental reasons or whatever reasons, have different levels of skills. Yes.
Now, is that why kids are able to be so easily multilingual at that age?
Yeah, this is a good question for John, too. And basically, when you're young, and I wish someone would tell you this, you got a built-in learner that's on freaking steroids right now. You could learn stuff so fast.
No.
By the way, someday you're going to go, I'm trying to learn chopsticks, and it's taken a month. And when you're a kid, a couple repetitions is the same as hours of practicing.
Right. And, they should buy them each the Babbel program. And that's not a paid endorsement, by the way. But, they'd learn 25 languages inside of 2 years.
So there have been 10 million years of evolution developing our neocortex. And yet, one political ad can take the whole thing down. I wanted to invite someone to join us today who is, I love her dearly. She's my favorite niece, unless any of my other nieces are watching. I love you all equally. But Jody Lynn Tedford is, she was super helpful to me during my treatments in Seattle. Let me use her apartment.
Nice.
And I was like, she was like, oh, I would want to help out, Uncle Robbie. And I was like, you're going to get sick of this about a month or two into it. And she didn't. Her and Michael, her boyfriend, were just incredibly supportive to me. But anyway, when I talked about this topic being on tonight, she said, oh, that's one of my favorite subjects. And I believe she does something that most of us probably don't do. She reads books.
Wow.
So let's welcome Jody Lynn on. Jody Lynn!
I don't read a lot of books anymore. I read them in Blinkist form to limit my executive functioning bandwidth strain. Spark Notes for adults. Like, anybody remember Spark Notes?
You had me at the name of an app that I've never heard of. What is that app?
Blinkist.
You could get a whole book that somebody just wrote because they wanted to be on the New York Times bestseller list and be on Amazon for 15 minutes. And you could also listen to it when you're in the shower. It's where I do most of my research about things like this. But I've been listening, and Uncle Robbie, I think we were in different classes when we learned about the F words, because the four that I know are fight, flight, fawn, freeze.
Fight, flight, what?
Fawn, freeze. So those are your 4 reactions to stimuli. But I'm definitely not going to pretend to be smarter than.
Well, here's an interesting thing, Jody, because this is something I also found out when I was researching. Since the initial guy who started writing about this, and I think it was in the 90s, it's now gotten somewhat controversial, and different scientists and different books discount each other's interpretations. Everybody agrees there's a kind of a reptilian sort of brain, and then there's the more evolved kinds of thinking leading to executive function. But, I believe for branding purposes.
Yeah, we're from the Wally Gator generation.
That's right.
I love taking inspiration from lizards. Lying on warm rocks by rivers in the sun is one of my favorite activities.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zip, I think, is thinking about that right now. I look forward to doing that in June, but not August here. So anyway, yeah. So just tell me what this has meant to you. And I did give these guys off the air a little bit about you, that you were trained in politics, that you have a degree from Georgetown University. Hope you don't mind me saying that, right?
No, yes.
Yes, you just mind.
No.
We'll edit that out. Anyway.
No.
So you've studied human behavior in lots of different ways.
I've observed human behavior in the worst of ways. I think is where my training came from. But that did give me a really deep, visceral curiosity for why are humans so awful sometimes and so wonderful other times, and why are some people so creative, but they also treat other people like crap. So that's sort of what put me on this lifelong, endless curiosity rabbit hole where gosh, I've lost many nights sleep just because I couldn't stop reading or clicking or trying to find a new thing. And
so talk about that reading, clicking, losing sleep. Is that what do they call that? Doom scrolling or whatever? Is that what you're referring to?
It's the opposite of doom scrolling.
It's rabbit holing.
It's rabbit holing. But it's learning, it's curiosity. But executive functioning versus I think we were talking about flow state earlier with music. It's not just music, it's anything that your body, muscle memory, brain knows how to do passively that you can do. For some people it's gardening. For me it's gardening. For some people it's cooking. For my dad, it's cooking a recipe he's familiar with, just
and he's freaking awesome, by the way. And I'll be in New England making maple syrup soon.
But
yep, he's going to be there.
That flow state is what you don't have to use your executive functioning for. And I've read a lot of the 15-minute Blinkist bullet point or listen to it out loud versions of these books that you really don't need to read cover to cover.
No.
It's like when you turn in an essay when you were a kid and they're 2 pages single spaced and you just stretch it out a little bit. But the thing that helps, I think the one big tip that helped me the most was make the first at least 5 minutes, but ideally hour of your day, something where you don't have to use any of your executive functioning bandwidth. So plan a little bit of your day the night before so that when you wake up, when your brain is first being awake for the day, it is doing flow state things washing your face, a splash of cold water, brushing your teeth, doing some self-care, making your coffee, things that you laid out for yourself the night before, an outfit. So you have a limited amount of decisions that you can make during a day that put strain on your executive functioning.
True.
And then at some point you reach what's called decision fatigue or analysis paralysis, where by the time you're on the couch wanting to choose a movie at the end of the night, Michael and I were actually just talking about this on our drive home from Portland last night. Like, why is it that there's 18,000 movies and shows that we always say we want to watch, but by the end of the day, when we flop down on the couch back here, we're like, what do we watch? And both of us are just like, it's decision fatigue. You like run out of your executive functioning bandwidth. So the nicest thing that you can do for your tomorrow selves is to plan the first 5 minutes to 60 minutes of your day the day before, because if your brain wakes up in that flow state, in that like lizard brain state, then you're going to have more executive functioning bandwidth for the times that your brain is like advantageously primed for making a lot of those decisions that probably matter. Like, I don't know, buying a house or taking a job or quitting a job or.
That's fascinating. And I've never thought about it in that way. I, in fact, really only started thinking about it this fall with the political ads. It's all trying to get me angry. But I also think about in ordinary conversation and relationships and difficulties. Like Zip and I occasionally talk about our spouses and how sometimes, you know, and I'll go first because I know Zip likes me to throw myself off the cliff first.
Fall on the sword.
But at any time, let's say, for example, I'll take the easy one, driving. Lisa is very dangerous when I'm driving. And I think she's just as much or maybe more dangerous when she's driving. She would agree with none of that. She thinks I'm a terrible driver and I'm about to kill her constantly. Now, the fact that my executive function neo-mammalian brain knows that I've been driving her for 42 years. And by the way, my superstitious part of me, probably a lizard brain reaction, right? From the first eclipse, got dark in the middle of the day. Anyway, my lizard brain says I want to say to her, look, I've been driving you for 42 years and I've never got into, and I know how that's going to end. That's karma. But I realize, at least I feel that, and I don't know if it's lizard or executive, that each of us likes to be in control. And Zip, you can talk about Jeannie anytime you want to just take some of the pressure off me if you like.
There's a gender issue that comes into play there too, though.
I'm not sure it's I mean, you could make generalizations.
Gross and sweeping.
Hey, we happen to have someone from a different gender on the show. Jody.
Oh, I don't know if I want to open this can of worms. Power dynamics go
there's the
far beyond
flight.
Gender. Yeah, I'm kind of deciding, do I want like fight or flight?
Yes, right. That's
I'm trying to decide.
Well, you have the fight,
by
then
the
book
way,
the flight.
It's a delicious can of worms. Are you sure you don't want to try something?
It's not necessarily gendered. It's
That's what I said. I think we agree.
Yeah, it's a power dynamic in a car. And, you know, when I was a kid, my mom and sister and I used to come and visit Uncle Robbie sometimes. And I remember getting on the back seat with my Uncle Robbie driving up and down I-5.
And scary. Go ahead, side with Lisa.
Yeah, I'm gonna take on Lisa's side here. But, you know, I'm still alive. I'm still in one piece, knock on wood.
You got in an airplane with me.
I did, and another distinct memory is when you were still in learning mode, before that was a flow state pilot mode, when we were landing one time on Orcas Island, and it was a little bit of a bumpy landing, my sister and I in the back seat, and your co-pilot instructor turned to you and said, "Nice save, Bob." And my sister so you told a little bit about my past, and so
that's fine. No, and all fair. And to be honest, I don't know that I'm any good as a driver, but I know that when she's in the car, I am trying to give her the smoothest ride possible, and knowing I'm going to fail, because
that you have an extra set of eyes, always several extra sets.
Now,
of eyes.
and this
but
is fair.
Executive functioning is making decisions about what to do, like where to turn,
Right.
where to go, whether you look over your shoulder is probably more of like a reflex, but yeah.
So, Your Honor, is this a deposition? Am I under oath? Okay. About a month ago, we were in Vegas, and we were going to show, or we were doing something. However it ended up, it was 5 o'clock rush hour on a Friday evening, and Lisa was driving. And I'm nervous for any human being. By the way, if you know what auto insurance costs in Nevada, people crush cars like hunters shoot soda cans. It's just constantly here. It's terrible. It's terrible. Terrible drivers here. Many drunk. And Lisa got a FaceTime call from Keith,
Oh boy.
and she took it.
Oh boy.
And so she's and the GPS when you're in a city, like GPS works really fine in the country where it goes right turn in 4.6 miles, and you
put
see
some
a cow.
buildings up.
Yeah, you see a few things. But when you're in a city where there's 8-lane highways crisscrossing each other, and you got a GPS trying to tell you to get home, and the phone rings and Keith's on FaceTime and they're talking and she's driving, and I'm like, you know what I'm talking about, Zip? The sort of unfairness of it all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Please, let's let Zip 10 minutes to talk about that.
No. It's like a biorhythm, I think, sort of. I was just thinking when I in learning how to live with somebody else in close quarters for 20 years, I now finally, after all these years, have figured out the best times of day not to bring up certain subjects, not to
Jody.
bother to deal with,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I actually take the temperature of the room and,
With an anal or an oral thermometer.
There are certain times of the day you shouldn't talk to me about certain things because I'm just not there.
Yeah.
So this is where I wanted to go with this. What would you call that kind of thinking? Executive function? Yes, Jody.
I don't know how this works. This is my first time. So
No, now that we see each other, there's way less car crashes under the overpass. Yeah. Raising your hand is great. Yeah.
My executive functioning band was trained. What was the question again? I can't even remember why I raised my hand.
Okay. Well, Zip was
Time
saying
of day.
that he's basically deciding, he's being fully present and deciding how to handle the situation instead of doing it automatically, right, Zip?
Yeah, so two of my favorite books that I've read, The Gift of Fear, which talks about how throughout your lifetime, every single time your body has been triggered into fear mode and you've had to choose fight, flight, fawn, freeze, and you've like booked information into your brain library about like what was most effective, what kept you safe, what didn't work, what made the person matter, that becomes part of your like background music brain, your lizard brain, and your instincts. And you might not necessarily remember every detail of those exact moments, but your brain can pick up on them when you're out in the world. And so that's the read the room thing. Like when you go into a room and read the room, what you're really doing is taking all of that information that your gift of fear brain has accumulated through your entire life. And you're reading people's facial expressions and you're reading their body language and you're reading the time of day and the set and setting and whether or not people are like moving really fast. And that's what reading the room is. And there are other things that affect that too, like circadian rhythms and metabolism. There's this great
Canadian
statistic.
rhythms.
Circanadians. Yeah.
And metabolism too. I remember back at school, I don't remember the book. I don't remember the exact statistic. I don't remember who it was that said this. It could have been a lie, but I read it and it made sense. And it was about how there is a very large statistical difference in the severity of judges sentencing, whether or not, like based on whether or not it's before or after they've had lunch.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big
absolutely
time,
true.
I'm sure.
I've read excerpts of that same book, not on Blinkist, but I have. Jody, such a good thing to see you. You should come on the podcast, occasionally.
I'm shy.
I can see that.
I'm very shy. I'm very awkward. I prefer to just read the books. I'll send you notes.
Okay. All right. Well, you were. Does she seem?
All in favor of Jody coming back?
Oh,
Come back, Jody.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Absolutely.
you're a breath of fresh air and also a breath of non-senile air.
Actually, Uncle Rob, we've had conversations about this. You are way more optimistic about the world than I am.
I am. Oh yeah. That's our next topic.
Optimism
I should not
versus
participate in this one.
By the way, that drama, that danger. Oh, the clicks go up. Yes.
Can I just get a reading of the four that you're saying?
Well, there's
Jody?
6 Fs if Jody adds her 2. So what were yours?
The third one I can't hear. I can't understand what the third one is of her four.
So the ones that I
Fight.
know of, and this is based on the polyvagal theory: fight, flight, fawn, freeze. And so
Fawn.
fight, flight are your ventral vagal, and I might be getting this wrong. I'm not a
Sorry.
doctor. And then fawn and freeze are your dorsal vagal, and those are like your more shut down, people pleaser.
Yeah.
What do I have to do to get out of danger?
Bond.
I think those are all fight or flight in some form, right? And then the eating and procreating are also just necessary for the survival of the species. And it's just one interpretation of it. Jody, it's great. It's great to see you.
Different F word classes growing up.
Yes,
Yeah.
when you came on, the F bomb became procreating.
Yeah.
It's Uncle Robbie.
No, I do that. I still
I know.
think of my mom every time I swear, and it's
You're reading the room. You're just
difficult.
going with your.
yeah. Jody, thank you so much for
Please come back. Please,
Yeah,
please, please.
do come back. Yeah, it's really
I'll
fun.
think about it. You're all wonderful. I'm also shy, and I'm gonna go make dinner.
Okay, have a good
Okay.
one. Say hi to Michael.
I will.
All right, love you.
Good night.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
He is. Now, wait a minute. Which sibling
This is
child is that?
This is my sister Patty, the school teacher.
Oh,
now
okay.
teaching
that
consultant.
makes sense. That
Totally.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
No,
So
but
that
both
makes sense.
both her daughters brilliant. The other one is a physician's assistant. She's a doctor, essentially.
But when she talked about going down the rabbit holes, she that to me, I saw the
She meant
genetic.
studying. Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
No, but that's the genetic sinewy tissue because you're the same way. You're a digger. When you
Oh, yeah.
get
Yeah.
you get into something, you go and you go and you go and you go until you found out everything you can find for free.
And it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know if it's genetic or not. But both my kids have a bit of that. My dad was very into playing the piano, and he was a CEO of a publicly traded utility company. So he was I wish I'd known him better. I just
Yeah.
knew him as the guy yelling at me for a number of years.
Me too. While he was there, and I found
Authoritarian.
I found my
Yes.
father's handwritten resume, 4 pages, not too many days ago, and I didn't read it. I have ADD.
But my grandfather was a politician who ran for office and worked with the Eisenhower campaign. So, if where you want to get showboating for the public from, and he was also a teetotaler, possibly recovered drinker. But I was 6. I wasn't going to ask him about his past. My grandfather, John Bruce, was so fun. You know what he would do for us kids? We would come over and he'd go, "Hang on." He would take out his teeth and go, "How you doing?" "You should brush your teeth."
And that's where fright and flight came
Oh.
from for Bob.
He was completely disarming
Oh, man.
and would help me with science. He was really the mentor and show businessy kind of, and only knew to encourage you. And my dad was a 50s dad. Most of us had 50s dads. So, okay. Topic number 1. That was a blast. And yeah,
Yeah,
the
she's
refreshing.
great.
Yeah,
and
and and by the way, bless you, Jody, for doing that, because I know that is not something she would gravitate to. Oh, let me get on there, because Jody, you should know, whatever anxiety you got, I'll see your anxiety and raise you.
Introverts do not like microphones.
No. Okay, next up. Do you believe that video killed the radio? Before I do that, I have to do this because Dave our webmaster, executive producer, who will not come on the show, put the words executive function into one of those AI art creating programs
Yes.
to see what it would create. Ready? That's lizard brain and executive function.
Wow. Wow.
Great. There's a headshot. I'm going to shop around.
All right, folks listening, streaming live, if you have any thoughts or comments at any time, please pop them up there, and David will potentially pop them on the screen. I want to let you know next week's show will be pre-recorded because Lisa and I will be on a cruise, but there will be a show at the beginning of next week. And we try to come on either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, depending on the scheduling, live streaming around 5-ish.
Love.
This may
Depending on Bob's crowded retirement dance card.
Exciting and new.
Yeah.
Come aboard.
I am the problem most of the time. I would like to insinuate otherwise, but anyway, also you can reach us anytime, show@bobandzip.com. And if you sign up at one of our web pages, you will be notified anytime there's a live stream. Sometimes it's an hour or two ahead of time. You can also listen to the program on demand at all your podcast places. And that thing that Facebook won't want me to mention that has videos. We have a channel there. If you subscribe to that, I don't want to. The algorithms. Seriously, algorithms. If they could paint.
That's a great character name.
Hey, algorithm, how are you?
Yeah.
Want some SEO?
Algorithm.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. I mean, if.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, it does, Todd.
If that algorithm could make that art from lizard brain and executive function, it certainly knows what I'm saying. I feel spied on. This
I thought Chat GPT was fun.
Someone said, "Is Bill Gates lizard brain?" A lot of those. I mean, this is just my interpretation. A lot of incredibly talented people are blessed or cursed and born with this incredible ability, to fast compute, high bandwidth information. Yeah. And then we develop our emotions. I mean, Bill Gates, kind of an interesting example. He was considered the devil, the Antichrist. Microsoft was the evil Death Star of technology, brought us into the software age and operating system age. And Apple was there, but Apple lost the battle. And Bill Gates then he and Melinda, turned into the biggest philanthropists maybe in the history, except for maybe the Roosevelts, or you go way back to other people who made a shitload of money. And and then he turned out, much like Bill Clinton and lots of us guys, to have
Lizard brain.
A zipper problem.
I know you're gonna like. I know how he's thinking.
I'm sorry to, Bill. Does it bother you?
Hold
on. Let me go with Bill for just a second.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton. Does it bother you that you're so often used as an example of that lizard brain problem?
Oh, come on. Does Pamela Anderson sleep on her back? Bob, use your executive part of your gray matter.
All right. So you're okay with it, in other words, yeah.
Well, it is
How does
what
it-
it is.
how
It
does all
is-
that-
it is what it is, depending upon what is.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Zip, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I never want to cut off Ed when he's about to do a voice,
So in the in terms of the 4 Fs, the F asterisk portion, is that an imbalance when that tends to overtake executive thinking? Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, now you're getting to
'Cause
the
it
crux.
certainly does.
Yeah,
It
you're getting to the
certainly-
crux of some of what I'm thinking, and I don't.
Yeah.
And we're just having an improv conversation, so we're not scientists or we're not particularly educated. But
For purposes only.
Now, how much would you pay?
yeah, like Tucker Carlson, I wouldn't take anything we're saying seriously. But I think that the lizard brain, as it was explained to me, to include instant gratification stuff like food and sex, although sex can sometimes take a little longer, but especially when you get on in years.
It's more like resurrection.
Aging male baby boomer
As you
joke.
get older.
Don't say erection.
So, so, and I said this at the outset, the thinking that the executive function is better than the lizard brain, to me, isn't the right way to think about it, because, again, the lizard brain's responsible for you being Bach or Beethoven. You have to have that incredible talent and memory function, and then you had to do the work. So lizards work hard too. Lizards think. And I don't feel like one is bad and one is good, but I do think that the lizard emotions may be more primitive or less emotional. Actually, is probably the scientific. It's in my. I read it somewhere.
All right, so
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
any addictive behavior is what in that?
Oh, I think that's a great thing. I think addictive. That's good. Could you write down these questions when we have a real smart person on?
Yes, I'll get a
I think
chalkboard.
No, I think you nailed it. I think addictive behavior is all lizards. I think that in fact, literally back when I was before I was in post-step program, that I would look at myself and go, "Why are you doing that? You know that's not a good idea, and why can't you stop?" And I remember saying to myself once before sobriety, if you could flip a switch, just by flipping a switch, and never need another drink again, would you flip that switch? The answer was absolutely, if it's that easy. But
This
it's
portion
hard.
of our show brought to you by Absolute.
Absolute. In other words, if it was easy and I could just, with my present executive function brain, function make. Here, memo from the executive office. No more booze. That's all it took.
That's it.
Yeah, but I couldn't control myself, and some of us are like that. Okay, next topic. I started this, but we got sidetracked. Did video kill the radio star? Did the internet kill the radio star? Is the radio star dead? I said no.
Pig vomit killed the radio star, I think.
Okay. You said consultants earlier.
Yes.
And by the way, this by no means means any disrespect to some certain radio stars, some dear friends of mine who are still huge on the radio, including my dearly departed friend Dory Monson, who just passed away. My friend BJ, who's got a #1 rated show in Seattle. There's still some, and there's still some big newspaper columnists too.
Massive.
So if you take what's been happening, and you look at, because we came up in a farm club of radio talent.
We got lucky.
Remember? And not just talk radio or morning shows or entertainment radio. I was a kid. You didn't have to. Wolfman Jack. Wow, I didn't even think of whether you do Wolfman, do you?
No. All right. Do I do the Wolfman? You could, I could do it, but, I wouldn't be able to say nothing else for the rest of the day. Happy DJ Day.
So Wolfman is hard on your voice?
Well, I'd rather do Don Imus at this point. I'm just saying, no.
Nice. Or Howard Stern.
If I wanted to.
You don't like him very much.
No,
Anyway.
actually, I do.
So the radio DJ, when I was growing up, even the music DJ, everybody. Now the music DJs, they don't have freedom to play what they want. They don't, they have to talk briefly. Yeah.
The new school DJs do. What is now a DJ is a club that flies city to city for 6 figures and does massive raves.
Yeah.
Those guys get to play whatever they want, and that's why they hire them. So that's
true.
kind of, when you think
I stand
about what
corrected.
FM did when AOR, Album Oriented Rock took over and the guys could play what they want. It's kind of a
Yes, Zeb.
history repeating itself to a degree.
I was just going to say that isn't this essentially, radio without the broadcast tower and the signal going
What
through
we're doing
the
now.
internet as opposed to
No, because we
Yeah.
put a picture on it.
So we're killing the radio star too. Yeah.
No, it is.
Well, yeah.
It is.
I mean,
Yeah.
okay, let's go back 2 months before we started doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it. No, we're doing it. We don't work for a corporation. We can. I try not to say the F word a lot. We can slip one in here and there. Yes. No. This is sort of an example of what I'm talking about. But I'm actually talking not about talk shows or podcasts because they're doing fine. Thank you very much. Conan O'Brien has a podcast. If you are getting into podcasting, I have no idea why you're wasting time with us.
Wow, he sure knows how to put a show together.
Oh,
and promote it, doesn't he?
yeah. I love being retired and not needing to make money. Although I'd like to make some for you guys.
That's one of us.
Yeah, I feel guilty with my all volunteer
I'm sure.
army.
You'll
here.
be crying on the boat the whole time.
But what I'm actually talking about is the DJ. Tom Petty famously sang about the last DJ. Do you remember that song?
I know of the song. I cannot come up with a melody.
Someone will text us the name of the song. I can't pull the lyrics out of my head, but he basically sang about the last DJ at a time that radio was becoming more voice tracked and more automated, and the playlists were tight, and they were lamenting the fact that your radio personality who played music, I'm not talking about podcasting or morning shows or any of that, used to be your companion. Used to be someone you trusted. And now that form it still exists. There's still some people I really love doing it.
Yeah.
But it has shrunk. I mean, when was the last time you got a newspaper that was this thick? Okay.
Over my ass at 5.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story, and it takes place about a dozen years ago. Or maybe 10. Doesn't matter. We used to vacation in Hawaii. I had a big morning show during the heyday of radio.
Yes.
And one night Lisa hadn't arrived. I was there alone, and I went out to go sit and watch some music. I will do that from time to time. I'll go somewhere by myself to watch usually a classic rock cover band or somebody, hopefully looking for good musicians playing songs I like. And I go to this club, and I'm all by myself. And I usually try to sit, table for one, someplace all alone. I'm really like Jody. I'm kind of shy. I don't really want to meet people, unless I'm getting paid. No. And this particular night at this little, it's on the Big Island in Kauai. It's called the Blue Dragon, and it's a little club that has sometimes halfway decent bands. I get there, and it's almost sold out. There's only one seat left, and it's at a bar, and it's on the end. I'm like, oh, all right, I'll go there. I'll sit there, and I'll be next to people. And I'm literally, I'm antisocial sometimes. I apologize. It's the insecurity, really. I love people once I know they're going to not hate me. I'm going to try and shorten the story, but I sit at the bar, and I'm actually thinking, I hope these people don't want to talk to me. And they turn to me and go, hey, we just got a place here. Do you live here? And we had a condo. We didn't really live there, but I was like, yeah, I have to be nice to these people and tell them, And I guess they had a daughter who was going to school in Waimea. And anyway, I have to make them a little bit anonymous.
Yeah.
So far, I've done a horrible job of that.
That's fine.
But I start talking to these people, and next thing you know, we're talking about music, we're talking about the internet, we're talking about software, we're talking about, and they were like, what do you do? And and I said, well, I'm in radio, and I do this talk show, but I love music, and I sometimes get to sit in with great musicians. And all of a sudden, they were fascinated, and we're talking, and after about a half hour, I go, I feel like at a disadvantage. I don't know who you are. And I'm not going to give you his name, but I will tell you what the guy said. Oh, I'm the guy who invented iTunes.
Wow.
And And his wife said, and I told Steve Jobs that the songs really needed to be 99 cents a piece.
Thanks, Bob.
I've never told this story publicly, and I hope it's okay 12 years later. But at that moment, I thought, I need to go work for Apple, and I need to tell them how to keep radio alive, because they had just created this thing called iTunes Radio.
Yeah.
And iTunes Radio, but basically they were going after Spotify, and who else had one at that time? There were like 3 or 4. Pandora was the big one for a while, and it flopped. And I said, "Oh, no, it's there's so much." He was like, "Do you have any ideas for us?" And I said, "Well, I want to work for you. I literally wanted to quit my job and go work at Apple." And this was about 1.5 years before I did quit my job. And he said, "Well, what do you think? We're looking for people all the time." By the way, they weren't looking for old radio people with white hair. They weren't. They ended up buying Beats Music right after that, by the way. Yeah. But I ended up writing this whole proposal for Apple on how to make iTunes Radio kick ass. And I say that. I worked on it for 2 days, and it was in a couple of pages. It wasn't a big deal. I knew I'd get, the number you have reached is not available. But it was just one of those chance meetings at a bar with really interesting people, really smart people. And so I had 2 factors to how I thought online radio, algorithm-based radio, could actually be competitive. The first one, I said, I'll give you this one for free. You need to make the user feel more interactive with it. You have all these algorithms that watch our behavior and tell us what we want to hear. And by the way, love those algorithms. I spent an hour and a half with Spotify last night just going, and it was like, I love this song. Wow, and it was songs I'd never heard of. Yeah.
Tossing my herring.
So, what was a deep dive scrolling, and it was great. And so I said, but this is way before that was really that good. And I said, you need to ask the user what they're in the mood for. I said, what if there was a button on your little radio that said, play me the hits, play me a nice mix of things I know and don't know, or discovery. Give me just a discovery button that, based on what I like, I don't want to hear it. I'm sick of Freebird.
So are they, by the way.
Yeah. And so it was hits, variety, and discovery. It was the 3 buttons.
Yeah.
I said, and I would love to do that. And I said, but there's a whole other, you need to get the user involved. And so I wrote back and forth to Apple a couple of times. No one ever talked to me. And this guy was really nice, and him and his wife. And it was wonderful. When you meet someone at a convention, you go, I got a great idea. It is what it is. And then shortly after that, they bought Beats Music. And then they started hiring all of these, Taylor Swifts or whoever to host channels, because they're looking at how do we get people to the channel quickly. Fast forward the following Christmas. I'm out at the place in Hawaii again, and I'm thinking of that really cool meeting at the Blue Dragon. And I pull up iTunes Radio on my computer.
Oh, boy.
And I opened the page. And by the way, I do have this picture, and I will ask...
You did take a picture of it.
I did. And I will ask David to post it with the pre-recorded version of the podcast. I opened, and it said, would you like to make a radio station based on your favorite artist? Ask you a question. I said yes. And it was Christmas time.
Yes. And
said,
of course,
who's your favorite artist? And I wrote Bob Rivers. It created a player, a radio station of Christmas parody songs. But there were 3 buttons on the player.
Bob, Dr. Demento, and Weird Al.
No.
No.
Hits, variety, and discovery.
And, oh, jeez. Word for word, even.
Oh, but I actually said, and I'm sure he had a recording device, you can have this one for free. I actually said that.
You stupid idiot.
And believe me, I was just absolutely overjoyed that was there. But that's a true story. So I thought of that story today because after listening to Spotify for a while last night, the second half of my proposal to Apple, I haven't told you yet. And I thought, gosh, Spotify needs to do this.
I'm not sure I want to hear this.
Well, Spotify could do... No, it's to bring back the music, DJ.
Okay.
It's to bring back the Wolfman.
Yeah.
Clap
All
for the
right,
Wolf.
baby. You gonna make your record high.
Yeah. And when I explain this to you, if I'm on the right track, you're going to go, yeah, that's dumb, easy, stupid, simple. Because I got those kind of skills.
Dumb, easy, stupid, simple. There's your
So-
calls.
What I told him maybe 10 years ago, and I didn't have it put as well as I'm going to put it tonight, I'll be honest with you. But what I told him is, why are you hiring celebrities? Why don't you do what YouTube does and just let anybody host a radio station using Spotify and let people become influencers and become DJs on Spotify? And if people want to hear the music from the algorithm, they can. If people want to introduce a DJ, I don't think they're looking for old guys like us with white hair.
Yeah.
Although I could have a small channel with you guys, right? Because when I was listening to the music last night, I was discovering these songs. I was feeling that urge a DJ has, which is, I'd love to tell you the story behind this artist and this song and why this is incredible. And let me share it with you now. Remember those DJ days?
Yeah.
When there was no politics, you didn't have to know anything that was going on in the news.
No,
It
he
wasn't
just
that
had to
bad.
come on and be cool. That was Tom Petty. He wrote that during his first album.
Right.
He was doing a little bit of marijuana back then, a little experimentation, as I recall. And I think he'd met his first wife, and she suggested a tune that would remind them of their child. And Tom said, okay. The Vampires. Going through Reseda.
Oh man, that is the perfect Stone Man DJ from the early FM days. But remember that. And look, it wouldn't be like that today. It would be like Emily in Paris.
Yeah.
It would be influencers. If Spotify announced tomorrow, and this is the other part that you don't know because you're not a geek like me, who does the what did Jody call it? The
Extrapolation.
No, the when you do the dumb scrolling, only it's smart scrolling. What did you call it?
Rabbit
A
hole.
deep dive.
What? A deep dive. Yes.
Yes. I said it, not her. Shut up.
We're doing this show.
Yes.
Our television studio is by a company called StreamYard, and the entire thing, including editing, including jingles, including a video switcher, which I just screwed up. See, I'm trying to do less of that, including like my ability to play a jingle right now.
Bob and Zip Show with Nick Kelly.
It's all in a browser, all the technology to be a DJ, to be a VJ. And by the way, we're not inventing it here. We're stealing this from the video gamers,
Yeah.
the streamers.
This is a
right?
gamer deal. Yeah.
It's totally, the gamers already have all this developed software already exists. All Spotify needs to do is take the songs, the huge library, which, by the way, a couple weeks ago, we played a song. We played that Yo-Yoko, that 12-year-old sensational
drummer?
drummer. When we played it, Facebook's algorithm, because they could hear the Led Zeppelin copyrighted music behind. So
a bot did it. Yeah.
The reason the DJ doesn't exist is because consultants originally. Well, to the DJ, so the DJ couldn't talk anymore.
Checking temperature. That's all I want to hear.
Shut up and play the records.
And Spotify, YouTube, nobody has. YouTube's figured out they have YouTube influencers that, the people that make the ASMR soft noises that
don't
sort of
knock
give you a tingle.
Don't knock it. I use it.
It's fine, I guess, if you're into it.
I have an ASM artist.
Oh, is Lizzie an ASMR artist?
No, but I've said I didn't know she doesn't like mine though.
But you know what I mean? Influencers now are working to help you understand products, putting up content all over.
Yeah.
When it comes to music, the algorithms studying your behavior and spying on you are the extent of the humanity that's involved. That and hiring, Taylor Swift or buying Beats music to try and get listeners, right?
Yeah.
Sirius XM, someone points out, Gordon, thank you,
Gordon.
they have DJs that tell stories
true.
about the
The
yes.
Nightbird. Yeah.
And that company was launched by radio people, and it's a subscription radio thing, and it's challenged also by the internet. But well, this is going to be the best of corporate radio and the best for creativity. Imagine if you didn't have to pay them anything.
Yeah. Well, then the satellites would fall into the drink, wouldn't they?
It's the Jeff Zuckerberg model. So
Yeah.
let me put it this way: if Spotify created an interface like the one I'm using for this live stream, or even this live stream, and allowed us to play some songs from the Spotify library, branded by Spotify. Spotify has to pay revenue. What if they charged me a nominal fee as soon as my show got a certain to help offset their costs?
Like the fee they pay the artists? Really nominal.
Oh, and by the way, there's a total misperception about Spotify that they screw the artists because nobody likes getting paid a fraction of a penny for anything. Okay.
But
What percentage of Spotify's revenue do you think goes towards music royalties? Take a guess. If you look at it a different way.
it's 90% or something ridiculous like that.
It's not that high, but it's high. It's 70-something percent before they even put coffee in the break room
Right.
or even hire a single employee. In other words, one of the reasons Spotify stock is in the shitter is it's not scaling, it's not a huge profit margin, and it's one of the reasons they hired Michelle Obama and Joe Rogan to be exclusive is because they see podcasting as the future. Well, I'm here to tell you, Mr. Spotify. And you know what? I don't even want to work for you. You can have
Could try that in radio.
you can have this for free.
Yes.
Just let me take a picture of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what you do, Spotify. You put the software in. You announce that you're bringing back DJs for anyone who wants them, and that it's free to join and start doing your own radio show. And then you give people the tools, just like the playlist you have now, except you get to host. And by the way, you could have services like biographies on the artist that you can click. When I watch Spotify now, I'm like, oh, while I'm listening to that song, I want to click on it and see who plays on it and stuff like that. They're way behind. All that stuff. But they're behind because the stock's in the shitter.
It's hard. It's hard to bring on new services.
So they need what Zuckerberg got and what YouTube got is people who willingly create content and make stars for them. And all you got to do is open the barn door and let the animals in.
And here we are.
Welcome to the trough.
So anyway, that's my how the DJ could be resurrected. And within a short time, especially among hot young people who have abandoned radio completely,
Yes. In droves.
give them a chance to share their passion and love for music, and just let the algorithms make the I mean we're gonna have it's the best of the old and the best of the new. We'll have the worst of the new too. Yeah.
Meanwhile, we are the old man DJs on WOLD.
All right. Last topic, and we don't have much time for it. We've gone rather long today, by the way.
Yeah.
This one's called I Could Have Been a Billionaire.
Okay.
And I asked Ed, and initially I got a negative answer from you. I asked Zip, and I don't think you could think of anything either. And I thought back in the .com boom days, I would say 97 to about the year 99, 2000, before the .com crash. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Back then, everybody had an idea for the internet. Remember the sock puppet?
Yes.
What website was it?
No, I don't remember that.
You don't remember the website,
Mm-mm.
but you remember the sock puppet.
I do.
Where's the beef?
Hmm.
That's amazing. Remember what was the sock puppet? Oh, somebody please text in what the sock. Now I went blank as I was making fun of you for not remembering, but that shows you that sometimes you remember the commercial, but not even the company.
Yeah, true. Which is supposed to be the mark of a failure on Madison Avenue's part.
Total failure. Yeah. Remember mylackey.com? That was a website where you were going to hire a lackey, someone really cheap to do all your chores for you.
Isn't that what you do, Bob?
If I were paying you a small amount, maybe, but I'm not paying you anything.
It's cracked himself up.
Yeah.
So it happens.
Do you remember other dead websites of that era? There were a whole bunch of them. Petfood.com. It was a land grab for domain names.
Yeah.
And people were making up websites. And pets.com, yes, that's a good one. Give us any of them that you could think of. Websites that crashed and burned. Some of it was we weren't ready for it yet.
It was ahead of its time, yeah.
I mean, now look at Uber.
Uber Eats
Wasn't
alone.
a big chunk of that venture capital cash grab, right?
Yeah.
Back then,
With a URL. Here you go. I got this great idea.
Yeah.
I was at a Whole Foods and I saw carts and carts and carts of Amazon bags filled with food going out into the parking lot to be delivered.
Just recently, yes.
Yesterday.
Instacart, all of those now. Joe would know, you're right, Brent, and I invited him to be on tonight. He's not here. If anyone remembers the sock puppet. But the point is, back then everybody had an idea. And I actually, I had an idea. Pets.com was the sock puppet? Okay. I still couldn't even connect them, even though I could remember the website.
Synapses don't fire like they used to.
Fire that ad agency. So back then I had an idea, and I could have been a billionaire.
And he wouldn't be talking to us now.
Are you kidding? I need friends.
It's on at 10.
Yeah.
Turn the TV.
Even if I'm a billionaire, I want my friends to be my pool maintenance guy. You know, I've actually, if someone's really successful, I'm that much more insecure around them.
Yeah.
Which is not meant to be a insult to you guys.
Yeah.
Do you remember, I do have one very minor cash grab idea. Do you remember I hosted TV Bingo? Do you remember
Bingo,
that?
yeah.
Wow.
Lasted 26 weeks.
It could have been the next Jeopardy.
It could have been.
Yeah.
It wasn't executed
Form
properly.
of question, please, Bob. Who could have been the next Jeopardy host?
Ed, you had one or two? Did you ever buy a domain? Buy a domain?
Yes, I have actually, in fact, bought probably about a dozen or so.
Okay. That makes
But you know what Cameo is?
Yes.
Well, I bought Scameo.com.
For you to do the scam voices. Yes.
And then somebody said, well, see, that's associated with... I had a consultant, a friend who, self-appointed consultant, wet blanket, I called him, say, oh, but then it's going to be associated with scam. You're wasting your money. So I let it go. And somebody else is probably making $1 million from it.
I did buy the domain resumentary.com.
Resumentary. While we're waiting for you to explain what value that would have, anybody out there in the audience who bought a domain back at the domain land grab days, just tell me what the domain was. Joe would be good for this discussion.
Yeah.
Because he had an idea that, You know how people do chicken wings? He had an idea that another part of the chicken that doesn't get used, I can't remember what it was, would be this great domain, and he would open a chain of restaurants, and then he would buy this stuff cheap because it was the part they were throwing away. Ruda what?
Reza.
Reza what?
Resumentary.com.
What is that?
It was a video resume. Documentary.
Resumentary.
Resume.
Okay.
Resume.
So, by the way, claim your $1 billion. That's LinkedIn.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes, it
So you had
is.
the idea for LinkedIn.
That's a great point.
Thank you for helping me with my premise, which was so slow in getting off the ground. So, I'm not sure of the exact year, but this is in that domain land grab time. I was talking with a friend of mine, Donovan, who's been on this show. And I said, I just bought this domain. This is going to be big. I actually know this is a mega $1 billion business, and I think it'll grow organically. And all I need to do is get a small team together and build the website. And he said, all right, tell me more about the idea. And I told him, and we loved it. And we would get together on the weekends, and we would plot this out. And we were actually in our minds, we're going to
Already billionaires. Yeah.
Oh well, no. I mean,
The Wright brothers only wrong.
you know how you know you're going too far
How's that?
when you're shopping for corporate jets. That's it.
Well, what layer would you need? The 7-seater?
That's right.
Did you like the leather interior? Do you want a 2-cone?
So we worked on this, and we're at the point, because we're not dumb. We're at the point where it was like, yeah, no, that could work. Yeah, that actually is going to be a big business. No one's doing it right now. And we were like, well, what's the next step? And we would ask each other, like, what do you think the next step is? And he would say, raising money, because you need a team of software developers, and that does not come cheap. And, well, we're here in Seattle. Do you know where any software developers are? Are there any here?
Because code monkeys cost money.
And then I thought, I could picture the whole thing in my head. And I thought, I would have to quit my radio job. Because Mark Zuckerberg didn't start Facebook. Well, at the time it was Friendster and MySpace. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He didn't start it as a weekend gig like you playing at a local bar with 6 pickup musicians, right? You know what I'm talking about, Zed, right? I mean, you gotta totally drop
all
everything.
All in, yeah.
The idea, the web domain, was 24bookit.com. The idea was people would need to book vacation homes and list their vacation homes. And there would be a website that would gather these up and charge them advertising fees. And by the way, in the beginning, you charge them almost nothing because you got to get market share. And then when you built critical mass, you could rip them off for as much money as you want because they needed to be on your site. Did I give away the secret of all corporate business?
The first one's for, and all drug dealers, by the way.
So about a year or two later, a couple, and you can read about them online, a couple started this website, vrbo.com.
Yep.
They were, they had a Winnebago or something. You know, they were RVers. And they wanted to give a place for people to share RVs. One of the first sharing economy websites. And vrbo.com did exactly what I knew it would do. It grew organically. And this retired couple riding around in their Winnebago, and I'm paraphrasing the story, but you can look it up. They sold this company. Have as many or as large of a Winnebago as they want. I believe the company that bought it was called Home Away, which was the company that copied them that had a bunch of investors.
Yeah.
and they couldn't get critical mass, so they bought Instagram. I mean, they bought VRBO, and just when you thought they were a monopoly, another company comes along called Airbnb.
Airbnb.
And it's by the way, it's a rule of business that no matter how many entrants there are in a business category, it's always going to end up a Coke and a Pepsi. Airbnb and VRBO, Coke and Pepsi, McDonald's and Burger King. Yes, there'll be Wendy's and RC Cola, but anyway, I could have. Do you think I could have been a billionaire if I quit radio? Oh, we're out of time. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Bob's been gonna go pick up.
All right. Anybody with any last thoughts?
I have an RV not so far from you in Phoenix, Arizona. So if you want to start the idea over again, feel free. I'll send you the keys.
Zip.
Do you really have an RV in Phoenix?
I do. Yes. And it's one of those really cool GMC RVs that radio stations used to use. Remember those? Fiberglass.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe we're getting a text message from Don Gaynor. Don is watching the show. Don is the, by the way, you guys have always been blown away, impressed by him. He's the Twisted Tune vocalist who was able to perfectly mimic John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. Oh.
You nailed it.
When I went to see Fogerty, I was hearing him.
Yeah.
That's how good he was.
Dog doo stinking up my backyard. All right. That's going to do it for us today. You don't remember that song? It's an awesome tune. Okay. There's a bathroom on the right was often a mistaken lyric. And, I think we actually recorded that one. We did one song without him, which remains the worst song ever. And then he just knocked those away. Anyway, thank you folks for listening to us. You can email us show anytime, show@bobandzip.com. Also, if you want to help our tip jar, we're looking to hire a producer. We're looking to pay anybody except for Spike or Zip or Ed or, whoops, Ed, you're frozen. Did Ed freeze the screen and refuse to work for us anymore? Look, he's completely frozen on the screen. You can go to bobrivers.com/Patreon if you'd like to help with the research and development portion of our show. Ed's connection died at exactly the right time.
He had a seizure. Jeez.
Spike is going to be on our pre-recorded show for next week when Lisa and I are on a cruise. We're going to run that probably Monday night at 5 o'clock. You'll get an email. If you sign up at any of our websites, and you'll get an email notification every time we're going to do a live broadcast. And you can also see any of these broadcasts or hear them wherever podcasts or video podcasts are given away for free. It's like hard time. All right. Zip, thank you much.
We're out of here. Rest up. Get away from this terrible grind of this podcast. I know you need a break. It's
hard.
The Bob and Zip Show with